Hello, and welcome to this instructional video on how to drive a stick shift. This video was created to teach the basic and necessary steps to drive a manual transmission. A manual transmission is commonly referred to as a standard transmission or a stick shift. These names reference the fact that when driving a manual or stick shift vehicle, the driver is the one who shifts the gears of the car. You might not even know that this type of vehicle exists. That is because most vehicles are automatic transmission, so don't worry if you are unfamiliar with manual transmission vehicles. We're here to help. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this journey through paradise on how to drive a stick shift. Before we begin, we will start with an introduction to certain terms with which many users may be unfamiliar. First, the clutch. The clutch is the first pedal on the left in any manual vehicle. This allows gears to be changed. This pedal, unlike the brake or gas, is worked by the left foot. Second, the gear shift. The gear shift is what the user moves to change the gears of the transmission, or leave the engine in a neutral idle. Now we will go through the steps nice and slow. Step 1. Starting the car. To start the car in an automatic, the user applies the brake and turns the key until the engine turns on. In a manual transmission, there are a few more steps. First, put the gear shift into neutral. Second, depress the brake. Third, depress the clutch all the way to the floor. And fourth, turn the key until the engine turns on. You can now let off the clutch and the car will remain idle. If you had not put the gear shift into neutral and let off the clutch, you would have killed the engine and would have had to start again. Now on to step 2. Putting the car in gear. To put the car in gear, first depress the clutch. Second, move the gear shift into position marked 1 on the gear shift. This is first gear. Sometimes, when on a slight downgrade or a hill, the car will begin to roll forward or backward as the clutch is depressed. Do not panic! Simply apply the brakes with your right foot and voila! You are no longer rolling. Step 3. Stop and go. This is the hardest part of learning to drive a stick shift. With your left foot on the clutch and right foot on the gas, slowly release the clutch as you apply the gas. This must be done in a fluid motion or you might stall the engine. Find that sweet spot and you'll begin to go. To stop once moving, depress the clutch as you apply the brakes. Failure to do so will cause the engine to stall. Step 4. Shifting between gears. Before continuing on, we have another definition that will help. RPM stands for revolutions per minute. This gives you an idea of how much work your engine is doing. There's a gauge on your dashboard called the tachometer. This helps you recognize your RPM level and how much your engine is working. While driving, you must always pay attention to your RPM gauge. When it reaches about 2500 RPM, it's time to shift up. To shift up, let off the gas and depress the clutch. Move the gear shift from first to second. Release the clutch and apply the gas again. Notice that the RPMs have dropped. When they are again nearing 2500 RPM, it's time to shift from second to third, or third to fourth, etc. When it's time to slow down, the gears are used to help the brakes. Release the gas and apply the clutch. Move the gear shift down one gear, for example, from third to second gear, and release the clutch. You will feel the engine increase in RPM as the engine slows down. One very important note in using the transmission while braking. Do not put the car into first gear from second until a full stop is reached. This means that once you get down to second gear, it is time to use more brakes to stop the car. But remember, reapply the clutch before reaching a complete stop, or the engine will die. It's pretty embarrassing when this happens at a red light. But don't worry, practice makes perfect. Go get 'em.